The moon. While the whole world is trying to explore it, that is the moon. But have you ever thought about what the world on the moon is like? Is there soil or rock on the moon, oceans or rivers, mountains or sandy plains, water or ice? So let's take you on a tour of the moon in the next 10 minutes, my friends. The distance from Earth to the moon is 384,000 kilometers. After landing on the moon, the first thing you will see is the moon's surface. The moon's surface will appear rough and rugged to you. On the moon's surface, you will see large craters in all directions. When you stand on the moon and look up, you will see our beautiful planet Earth, which will appear to rotate on its axis clearly. But the sky will always maintain its permanence. That is, if we keep gazing at the Earth from the moon for several years, it will not move from its position. The moon's gravitational attraction is 6 times less than that of Earth. This means that after landing on the moon, your weight will decrease by 6 times. If your weight on Earth is 60 kilograms, on the moon's surface, it will be only 10 kilograms. In other words, after landing on the moon, you will feel considerably lighter. This is why Neil Armstrong and his fellow astronauts were seen hopping on the moon when they were there, because it is not possible to walk on the moon like on Earth. The footprints of Neil Armstrong and his companions are still present on the moon, because there is no atmosphere there to erase them. Now, after walking a little on the moon, when you look around, you will find a lot of debris, bags, paper, and many damaged satellites and spacecraft. All this garbage has been left behind by humans. There is so much garbage on the moon that it can fill 5 trucks. The garbage on the moon includes bags, paper, and even the urine and vomit of astronauts. Now that you are standing on the moon's surface, the greatest danger to you is space death from above. Yes, the absence of an atmosphere on the moon means that there is no protective layer against dangers from space. The presence of an atmosphere continuously poses the risk of dangers like meteorites for those living on the moon. In other words, you are on the moon, and you'd never know when a large meteorite might come crashing down from space, causing your death right there. This is why the dark spots that are visible on the moon when viewed from Earth are actually not spots, but craters where sunlight does not reach due to the lack of an atmosphere. After all, the most shining thing in the sky after the sun, if there is one, is the moon. When we look toward the sky on Earth, it appears blue. But when we look at the sky from the moon, it appears not blue but black. In other words, whenever you look up towards the sky, you will feel that you have entered a world of black skies. Now, standing on the moon, you're feeling quite bored. And yes, we're not joking. You can comfortably use the internet on the moon. Now that you have the internet, enough of the moon. You decide to call your home on Earth. You dial the phone number. The phone rings, but wait, what are you saying? But your voice isn't coming out of your mouth. Yes, that's right. On the moon, no matter how loudly you shout, your voice won't be heard. Earth always has an atmosphere everywhere, but the moon doesn't have its own atmosphere. So the transmission of sound waves, there is not possible in the usual way. If you want to call someone on the moon, your voice won't reach them. However, astronauts on the moon wear pressurized spacesuits, which contain oxygen and nitrogen to create an artificial atmosphere. They can talk in their suits and use the microphone attached to communicate with others. In this way, using a telephone on the moon is no problem. But to convey sound from your mouth to the microphone, you'll need some medium, like air, which is possible in a spacesuit or a habitat in the future. If humans establish colonies on the moon in the future, it's possible that phone communication can be achieved. However, it takes about 1.27 seconds for a signal to travel from the moon to Earth. So during communication, you would have to speak with pauses. Now let's talk about day and night on the moon. It takes 27.3 days for the moon to orbit Earth, and it also takes about the same amount of time to complete one rotation on its axis. This is why we always see the same face of the moon, while the other side remains hidden. On the moon, a day is approximately 14 Earth days long, and the night is just as long. So the lunar surface experiences a significant temperature difference between day and night. At night, the temperature on the moon can drop to around -153 degrees Celsius, while during the day it can rise to as high as 180 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, different regions of the moon have different conditions. It is believed that the lunar South Pole in particular can be extremely cold. The nights there are extremely frigid, making it highly unlikely for any human from Earth to survive in such conditions, let alone build settlements.
If scientists were to believe, even during the daytime, the south pole of the moon doesn't get very warm, but the nights are exceptionally cold. As time passes, it gets even colder, with ice forming, making the prospect of human colonization on the moon's surface even more daunting. All the missions to the moon so far have ventured into the equatorial regions, avoiding the extreme conditions at the poles. On the moon, there is no weather as we know it because the moon's rotation is such that it keeps the same side facing Earth. This means that there is no change in weather patterns, and there are areas on the moon where sunlight or rays never reach. So, if you were to land in these areas, you would be greeted by terrifying sights. The moon's surface may look shiny from Earth, but it actually doesn't emit its own light. What we see as moonlight is actually sunlight reflected from the moon's surface. If the sun stopped shining, the moon would be completely dark. The moon, as seen from Earth, always appears round, but in reality, it is egg-shaped. It is slowly moving away from Earth at a rate of about 1.5 centimeters per year. In our solar system, there are at least 135 moons, but none of them have the conditions for life to exist. If life exists on Earth, it's mainly due to the presence of the moon. When Earth collided with a planet-sized object called Theia, it tilted 23.5 degrees, and if the moon hadn't formed at that time, Earth would have eventually straightened itself. It's because of the moon's gravitational influence that Earth remains tilted, resulting in the varied weather conditions we experience. So while there may not be weather on the moon, it's the moon's presence that affects the weather on Earth. How did you find this fascinating journey to the moon? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for updates. See you soon with another video like this. Until then, happy bye-bye.